Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another Backlog Cleared video. Today I'm just going to go through my HMV Premium Collection. I just bought a couple. HMV are doing 2 for $15 at the moment, so I just picked up a couple, so that's now my Premium Collection. Backlog complete. I'm not complete in the Premium Collection, nor will I ever be, because there's just some films that I'm not interested in. And obviously the HMV Premium Collection will have no new releases, as they have stopped producing them, but Warner Archive, which a lot of these titles you can also get in Warner Archive. Warner Archive will be releasing more of their titles in the UK. So even though there'll be no more Premium Collection, that's essentially Warner Archive, just the UK version of it that was produced for HMV, which is a very long-winded explanation. So I'm just going to go through these. I'm not going to dwell too much on each release, because I do have a few. This is a numbered collection, so for those of you who are mad on collecting all the numbers, I mean, I can't imagine that. I'll let you know which numbers they are. Again, these are fairly random, a little bit like Kino Lorber, in the fact that some of them have lots of special features, others have no special features. Some of them have random cartoons from around the time of the film. Again, these are generally all English language films, all kind of quote mainstream films. But some of them are kind of little forgotten gems or underrated films that have got the Blu-ray treatment. Some of them are Blu-ray and DVD, so 2-disc sets, but I think most of the later numbers are just Blu-rays, but a lot of them you get Blu-ray and DVD. So number 1, which is always a good place to start, from 1954 is Them, and all of these bar one come in this little sleeve, which is rather nice. There's no alternate artwork or anything, but you do get the famous art cards. So that's Them, everybody's favourite big ant film. Then number 3 is the Omega Man, from 1971. I remember when big stars like Charlton Heston would die in their films. Spoiler alert. Too much of a spoiler alert because I already spoiled it. The Omega Man's fantastic. And this is a Blu-ray DVD. And then number 4, Soylent Green, which is just truly wonderful, from 1973. Edward G. Robinson's brilliant performance. Number 5, All the President's Men, one of the 3 Alan Pakula kind of conspiracy films. I should actually go through the extras on them. So Them just has a behind the scenes which contains the operation of the giant ants. The Omega Man has an introduction by co-stars Eric Lanuel and Paul Coslow and screenwriter Joyce H. Corrington, and has a vintage featurette, The Last Man Alive, the Omega Man. Soylent Green has a commentary by director Richard Fleischer and Lee Taylor Young, and a look at the world of Soylent Green, and MGM's tribute to Edward G. Robinson's 101st film. So that's good to have. And All the President's Men is commentary by Robert Redford. Telling the Truth About Lies, The Making of All the President's Men, Woodward and Bernstein Lighting the Fire, Out of the Shadows, The Man Who Was Deep Throat, Pressure on the Press, The Making of All the President's Men, and vintage Jason Robards interview excerpt from Dinah, hosted by Dinah Shore. So if you want to hear Robert Redford talk about All the President's Men. Number 6 from 1976 is Logan's Run, which actually has some naughty bits in it, which was never shown on British television. And this has a commentary by Michael York, director Michael Anderson, and costume designer Bill Thomas, and a vintage featurette, A Look into the 23rd Century. Number 7 from 1980 is The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. There's a commentary by Steadicam inventor operator Garrett Brown and historian John Baxter, and Vivian Kubrick's documentary The Making of The Shining with optional commentary, which is of course hilarious, and 3 mesmerising featurettes, View from the Overlook, Crafting The Shining, The Visions of Stanley Kubrick, and Wendy Carlos, Composer. Number 8 from 1982 is Barry Levinson's Diner, featuring an all-star cast. The behind-the-scenes documentary Diner on the Flip Side, and there's an introduction by Barry Levinson. That's Diner. Number 10 is Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Again, as you can tell, the titles are fairly random. This has over 20 minutes of never seen before footage. A behind the scenes documentary and a commentary by Joe Dante, who's always value for money, actor Zach Galligan, writer Charlie Haas, and producer Michael Fennell, and a gag reel, you know, when the Gremlins messed up their lines. Number 13 from 1981 is John Boorman's excellent Excalibur. This has a commentary by Boorman, which is essential listening, because again, John Boorman's one of those directors, along with Sayles and Cronenberg and Scorsese to an extent as well, that are worth the price of admission. Number 14 from 1986 is The Mission with De Niro and Jeremy Irons. There's a commentary by Roland Joffe, and there's a BBC omnibus documentary, People on a Mission, about the location and the tribespeople of the area. Number 16 from 1983 is Tony Scott's best film, The Hunger. This has a commentary by Susan Sarandon and Tony Scott, featuring a wonderful David Bowie performance. Number 17, Performance, strangely enough, from 1970. This film is absolutely wonderful. This has a new featurette, Influence and Controversy, and a vintage featurette, and the trailer. Number 18 from 1960 is The Time Machine with Rod Taylor. This has behind the scenes documentary and a theatrical trailer. Then we have one of my favourite releases in the range, from 1981, number 19, Peter Hyam's Outland, arguably my favourite Sean Connery film. This has a commentary by Peter Hyams, which is very interesting, and the theatrical trailer. I mean, I had this on DVD, I think, then I had it in German Blu-ray, and certainly growing up when you saw it on the television, it was so dark you couldn't actually see anything, whereas the Blu-ray makes it look like a completely different film. You can actually see where the money went on sets and things like that. Number 22 is the director's cut of Donnie Brasco, one of the better late gangster films. This is from 1997, and this has the extended cut, as I said, which is an extra 25 minutes, which just makes it a little bit deeper and rounder. This has just a photo montage, original theatrical featurette, and a Donnie Brasco Out of the Shadows featurette. The only one that I don't have the little slipcase for, from 1989, number 26, Brian De Palma's Casualties of War, with Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn. It just has a conversation with Michael J. Fox and the making of Casualties of War. Number 28 from 1972, Robert Redford and Jeremiah Johnson. This has a commentary by director Sidney Pollack, writer John Milius and actor Robert Redford. And the Saga of Jeremiah Johnson featurette and a trailer. Again, most of these are currently on HMV 2 for 15, so if you want to pick up some, it's probably the right price range for them as well. 1949, this is number 34, this is White Heat. Commentary by film historian Dr. Drew Casper. Leonard Maitland hosts Warner Night in the Movies 1949 with newsreel comedy short. And there's also a featurette, White Heat, Top of the World. Number 35 from 1931, The Public Enemy, another little cracker. This is a commentary by film historian Robert Sklar, and Leonard Maitland hosts Warner Night in the Movies 1931, and there's a featurette, Beer and Blood, Enemies of the Public. Number 36 from 1931, Edward G. Robinson and Little Caesar, which is absolutely fantastic. This has a commentary by film historian Richard B. Jewell, and Leonard Maitland, he's back again, hosts Warner Night in the Movies 1931, it's the same extra on Public Enemies, and there's a featurette, Little Caesar, End of Rico, Beginning of the Anti-Hero. And there's the 1954 re-release foreword. From 1967, number 37, we're back with John Boorman, and this is Point Blank. You could argue it's not quite experimental, but certainly not your usual Hollywood mainstream thriller. I still don't know how John Boorman actually got away with it. This has got a commentary by John Boorman, and again, fantastic listening. But he's joined by filmmaker Steven Soderbergh as well in the commentary, and there's two vintage featurettes. But again, the commentary with John Boorman is worth the price of admission. Number 38 from 1974, The Yakuza with Robert Mitchum and Takagura Ken. This is fantastic. Commentary by director Sidney Pollack, and a vintage featurette, Promises to Keep. And then from 1974 as well, 1974 is almost quite a good year. Spine number 40 is Chinatown. Commentary by screenwriter Robert Towne with David Fincher. And there's quite a lot of featurettes, The Aqueduct, The Aftermath, The River and Beyond, An Appreciation, The Beginning and the End, Filming, The Legacy, and the theatrical trailer. 1991, spine number 42, New Jack City. Commentary by director co-star Mario Van Peebles, and 3 featurettes, 3 music videos, a Van Peebles parody, and a trailer. Moving performance by Ice-D. From 1953, number 44, in 3D, House of Wax with Vincent Price, directed by Michael Curtiz. House of Wax, unlike anything you've seen before, commentary by David Duvall, who's Vincent Price biographer amongst other things, and Constantine Nasser, newsreel, theatrical trailer, and a 1933 Warner Brothers feature, Mystery of the Max Museum, which is the Curtiz film. More about that later. 1963, number 45 is The Haunting, Robert Wise's wonderful Haunted House, the definitive Haunted House film. There's a commentary of Julie Harris, Claire Bloom, Richard Johnson, Russ Tamblyn, director Robert Wise, and screenwriter Nelson Gidding. And the trailer. And then 1941, spine number 47, the Maltese Falcon. You may have heard of this before. There's commentary by Bogart biographer Eric Lax, featurette Maltese Falcon, One Magnificent Bird, breakdowns of 1941, studio blooper reel, makeup tests, becoming attractions, the trailers of Humphrey Bogart, Warner Night at the Movies 1941, and 3 radio show adaptations, 2 featuring original stars and a 3rd one featuring Edward G. Robinson. That's the Maltese Falcon. 1946, and it's number 49. Bogart and Bacall in The Big Sleep, which is just about perfect. This also has a 1945 alternate version. There's a piece on The Big Sleep comparisons between the 1945 and 1946 version. There's an introduction by Robert Gitt. That's his name. I'm not casting aspersions. And the theatrical trailer. In 1973, number 53 is Terrence Malick's Badlands. And this has an interview with cast and crew and the trailer. In 1953 again, this is spine number 54, and this is The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. This has 2 documentaries about the making of the film, strangely enough, and Harryhausen and Bradbury, An Unfathomable Friendship, about the amateurs and how the models were made, and the theatrical trailer. Then to follow that up, we've got number 55 from 1969, a film that was always on BBC Two about 6 o'clock, The Valley of the Gwangi with James Franciscus. Again, more Harryhausen. This is Return to the Valley, recounts the making of the film with associate producer, creator of special effects, Ray Harryhausen. And number 56 from 1981, Clash of the Titans with more Ray Harryhausen. This is the only Clash of the Titans film you need to watch. This has a conversation with Ray Harryhausen and also myths and monsters as he goes through how he made and what the influences were for each of the monsters in the film, including the ones featured in the back. Again, this is nostalgic, but Larry Olivier playing Zeus with full Shakespearean gusto. Number 57 from 1939, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, of course. This is a commentary by Frank Capra Jr. Frank Capra's American Dream, a feature-length documentary hosted by the master himself, Ron Howard, theatrical trailer and rare international trailer, and 5 featurettes. That's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Number 58 from 1971, Robert Altman's McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Again, I'm not a huge Altman fan, but I do love this one. There's a behind the scenes documentary, a trailer, and a feature length commentary by Robert Altman and producer David Foster, but bizarrely that's just on the DVD, not the Blu-ray. Number 59 from 1991, Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho. This has, because sometimes the sleeve doesn't have the extras and the box does, but this would apparently have no extras at all. I can't actually remember when I watched it whether there was any extras, but the box says there's no extras. From 1971, number 60, Bogdanovich's The Last Picture Show, which I believe has recently got a Criterion 4K. This has a commentary with Peter Bogdanovich, always entertaining, a discussion with Peter Bogdanovich, a theatrical re-release featurette, and a look back documentary. From 1947, spine number 61, Dark Passage, another Bogart Bacall, even though this one, for half the film, Bogart's got bandages on his face. This has Hold Your Breath and Cross Your Fingers, Slick Hair, 2 Bugs Bunny cartoons. Again, not quite sure why. I'm not complaining though, Bugs Bunny. 1955, Spine number 63, Bad Day at Black Rock, all-star cast of course. And this has a commentary by film historian Dana Poland and the theatrical trailer. 1956, this is number 66, and yes, I do have an Alfred Hitchcock film, and this is The Wrong Man with Henry Fonda and Vera Miles, and this has a making of and an original trailer. And from 1984, Spine number 68, 1984, with Richard Burton and John Hurt, and this has only a trailer. Number 72 from 1967, Wait Until Dark with Audrey Hepburn and Alan Arkin and Richard Crenna. And Take a Look in the Dark as Alan Arkin and producer Mel Ferrer reminisce about the making of the film, and there's a theatrical trailer and a warning trailer. And from 1936, Spine number 74, this is Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, again another Capra and another commentary by his son Frank Capra Jr. And Frank Capra Jr. remembers Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, a vintage advertising gallery, an original theatrical teaser. Not the trailer, just the teaser. One of my favourites again, 1979, Spine number 73. This is Time After Time. Done a random review in this a long time ago. Malcolm McDowell and David Warner. One of them's Jack the Ripper and one of them's H.G. Wells, but perhaps not who you think. And they travel back in time to 1970s, sorry, forward in time to 1970s San Francisco. This has a feature-length commentary by Malcolm McDowell and writer-director Nicholas Meyer, which is very enjoyable, almost as enjoyable as the film. In 1938, number 75, another Capra, You Can't Take It With You. This is a commentary by Frank Capra Jr., surprise surprise, and author Catherine Kellison, and Frank Capra Jr. remembers You Can't Take It With You. Been doing a lot of remembering recently, and original theatrical trailer. From 1939, Spine number 76, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, Charles Laughton, Maureen O'Hara. There's an interview with Maureen O'Hara. There's an Academy Award nominated short, Drunk Driving, and The Lone Stranger in Porky cartoon, and a theatrical trailer. So lots of information about The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Again, one of my favourite films of all time, 1947, Spine number 79, Out of the Past, or as I remember seeing it, Build My Gallows High. And this has a commentary by author, film noir specialist James Orsini. Wonderful Robert Mitchum. Kirk Douglas is in it as well. And another of my favourite films of all time, from 1952, Spine number 80, Nicholas Ray's On Dangerous Ground, which is still a masterpiece despite it being butchered by the studio, about a cop who's a little bit too heavy-handed, who gets sent up country to investigate a murder and meets Ida Lupino. A commentary by film historian Glenn Erickson and a trailer. From 1976, number 82, Marathon Man, which I think Kino Lorber's recently released 4K. The Magic of Hollywood is the magic of people, apparently. Going the Distance, Remembering Marathon Man, rehearsal footage, and a theatrical trailer. From 1944, Spine number 84, To Have and Have Not, another Bogart Bacall. This is Bacall to Arms from 1946, which is a vintage Merry Melodies short. A love story, the story of To Have and Have Not, and the radio broadcast featuring Bogart and Bacall. From 1948, Spine number 85, it's another Bogart Bacall, this time with Edward G. Robinson as the heavy Key Largo. And I don't believe this has any extras. From 1984, spine number 87. This is 2010, the year we made contact. This is a sequel to a film, can't remember what it's called, but this is a sequel. Vintage featurette, 2010, The Odyssey Continues, in a theatrical trailer. From 1966, spine number 92. This is Harper, Paul Newman. This has an introduction by Robert Osborne and a commentary by screenwriter William Goldman, and a trailer. And then the sequel from 1975, spine number 93, The Drowning Pool. I'm sure I did a double bill on both these. Where Paul Newman plays the private detective Lou Harper again. Vintage featurette, Harper Days Are Here Again, and the theatrical trailer. And then spine number 94 from 1987, one of the VHS treasures of the 80s, The Hidden, Kyle MacLachlan. It's just so much fun. And from 1975, spine number 95, Gene Hackman in Night Moves. Did a random review of this. Not the biggest Gene Hackman fan, but that's really enjoyable. And from 1978, spine number 97, John Milius's Big Wednesday. This has a commentary by director, co-writer John Milius, and a retrospective documentary capturing the swell, and the theatrical trailer. 1964, spine number 98, 7 Days in May, in that wonderful vein of form that Frankenheimer found himself in. Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster are absolutely fantastic, and also in that film. From 1959, spine number 99, The Thing from Another World. Absolutely marvellous. Unfortunately, this just has theatrical trailers, so again, some of these have really good extras and some of them not so much. Spine number 100 from 1960, The Village of the Damned, George Sanders, sign me up. Commentary by Chronicles of Terror, Silent Scream's author Steve Haberman, and a theatrical trailer. Spine number 101 from 1972, Dracula AD 1972, which is a lot of fun, but sadly just a trailer. And 102 from 1973, The Satanic Rites of Dracula, where Dracula becomes a Bond villain. Just a theatrical trailer. From 1993, spine 103, a film that I have a real soft spot for, Judgment Night. Dennis Leary's finest performance before he just repeated this performance in pretty much everything he's in. Unfortunately, I don't think this has any extras, which is just criminal. I mean, this should get a Criterion, really. From 1949, spine number 104, Gun Crazy. Commentary by author, film noir specialist Glenn Erickson, and documentary Film Noir, Bringing Darkness to Light. In the running for the best film in this range, from 1976, spine number 105, Richard Lester's Robin and Marion, which is just absolutely superb. As I've said before in this channel, never really appreciated it when I was younger, but now it's an absolute masterpiece. A ridiculous cast, as Richard Lester films generally do have. From Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn and Robert Shaw and Nicole Williamson and Denholm Elliott and Ronnie Barker and Ian Holm and Richard Harris. I mean, it's utterly phenomenal. No extras, unfortunately. From 1983, spine number 107, The Man with Two Brains with Steve Martin. and Just the Trailer. From 1981, really underrated film, Spy Number 108, Wolfen with Albert Finney and Gregory Hines and Tom Noonan and Edward James Olmos and Diane Verona. I mean, it's an all-star cast. And Just a Trailer. From 1977, Spy Number 109, Demon Seed by Donald Camel, or Camel, Just a Trailer. And obviously these past bunch, it's just Blu-ray now rather than Blu-ray and DVD. From 1970, Spy Number 110, Peckinpah's The Ballad of Cable Hogue, one of his more underrated films. Commentary by Peckinpah biographers, documentarians Nick Redman, Paul Seabour, Garner Simmons and David Weddell. Featurette, The Ladiest Damned Lady, An Afternoon with actress Stella Stevens. And theatrical trailer. From 1992, Spy Number 112, John Landis's Innocent Blood with Anne Barrio. Again, just a trailer. From 1981, Spy Number 114, it's Albert Finney again in Looker, co-starring James Coburn. This is an introduction and commentary by Michael Crichton, who wrote the book. Deleted scene and a theatrical trailer. That is an interesting little film. From 1972, Spy Number 126, Superfly, one of the greatest soundtracks of all time by Curtis Mayfield. Great poster art as well. One Last Deal, a retrospective documentary. Commentary by Dr. Todd Boyd, USC Professor of Cinema and Television and author of Am I Black Enough For You? Popular Culture from the Hood and Beyond. Curtis Mayfield on Superfly, audio only. Behind the Hog with Les Dunham, Ron O'Neill on Making of Superfly, and costume designer Nate Adams goes behind the threads. And a trailer. From 1983 even, Spy Number 132, another film that's recently had a 4K. Trading Places. Special features, director John Landis on Trading Places, Insider Trading, the making of Trading Places, Dressing the Part, the trade in Trading Places, Trading Stories, industry promotional piece, deleted scene with commentary by executive producer George Folsey Jr., deleted scene, isolated score, and theatrical trailer. And from 1986, Spy Number 133, certainly a guilty pleasure of mine, The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy and Charles Dance. The only reason to watch it is Charles Dance. He gives a wonderful performance. I did a double take on Charles Dance's villains, and in this and Last Action Hero, he's marvellous. The making of Golden Child, The Chosen Ones, Daggers, Design and Demons, and theatrical trailer. I think I actually saw that in the cinema, believe it or not. From 1945, Spy Number 136, Murder My Sweet, with Dick Powell. This has a commentary by author, film noir specialist Alain Silver, and theatrical trailer, based on a novel by Raymond Chandler and directed by Edward Dimitri. From 1947, Spy Number 136 is Possessed by Joan Crawford, with Joan Crawford and Van Heflin. This has a commentary by film historian Drew Casper and a featurette, Possessed, the quintessential film noir, and the trailer. This is a good wee film. Next, you could argue this is my favourite Peckinpah, even though probably nobody would agree. From 1962, this is Spy Number 138, and this is Ride the High Country with Randolph Scott and Joel McRae. This has a featurette, A Justified Life, Sam Peckinpah in the High Country. There's a commentary by Peckinpah biographers, documentarians Nick Redman, Paul Seabour, Garrett Simmons and David Weddell, and there's a Sam Peckinpah trailer gallery. From 1941, Spine 141, The Sea Wolf, which is absolutely fantastic. This has a trailer and a radio broadcast. I mean, Edward G. Robson, Ida Lupino, and John Garfield. Is this Michael Curtiz as well? Yes, directed by Michael Curtiz. Absolutely wonderful. From 1964, Spy Number 142, James Garner in 36 Hours. This is an enjoyable little bit of hokum about an American soldier who's captured and then fooled by the Germans into thinking the war's over. They recreate an American hospital in the hopes of getting them to tell them where the Allies' invasion is going to be. Rod Taylor is a Nazi. It's so much fun. This just has a James Garner war movie trailer gallery. From 1982, Spy Number 144. This is Death Trap, which is a little bit like Sleuth, but nowhere near as good. Directed by Sidney Lumet, with Michael Caine, Christopher Reeve, and Diane Cannon. It's basically just a three-hander, and there's a famous kiss in it. My goodness, people kissing people, it's disgusting. From 1933, Spy Number 145, The Mystery of the Max Museum, directed by Michael Curtiz. This is a documentary, Remembering Fay Wray. An audio commentary by author film historian Alan K. Road. An audio commentary by Scott McQueen, head of preservation, UCLA Film and Television Archive, and a restoration featurette. Yeah, Michael Curtiz actually made some little horror films that nobody really associates him with. From 1973, Spy Number 146, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. This is actually a TV movie from 1973, and it really should be, you might not be afraid of the dark, but be afraid of the wee things that are in the dark. It's actually quite creepy. This is an audio commentary by Amanda Reyes, made for TV Mayhem. Audio commentary by Steve Uncle Creepy, that's a good nickname. Steve Uncle Creepy Barton from Dread Central. Screenwriter Jeffrey Reddick, who wrote Final Destination and Day of the Dead, I assume the remake. And Sean Abbey from Fangoria. It is a creepy little film, I would highly recommend it. From 1949, number 147, Robert Ryan in the Setup, which is a lovely little film. It's only 72 minutes long, doesn't need to be any longer. There's a commentary by Robert Wise and Scorsese. Spy Number 148 from 1940 is Gaslight, by Charles Boyer, Ingrid Bergman and Joseph Cotton. I don't actually realize Charles Boyer always insisted on top billing. But this actually has the 1940 version included. So if you buy your 2 for 15 from HMV, you're actually getting 3 for 15, because you do get the 1940 version with Anton Walbrook, directed by Thorold Dickinson. I prefer this to that, but Ingrid Bergman is absolutely fantastic. Joseph Cotton, Ingrid Bergman won the Oscar for her performance in this, and Joseph Cotton's fantastic. I will say the print of this on that isn't as good as it is on this, so I would recommend picking up the BFI, and the BFI one has an absolute truckload of extras on it. But if you're not that interested in the extras, you basically get 2 films for the price of 1, 2 versions of Gaslight, which you can compare, and it has a radio broadcast of it. There's a reminiscence about the film with Angela Lansbury, this was her first film when she was 17. She turned 18 and she got an Oscar nomination for her portrayal as the maid. And it's a reminiscence by Pia Lindstrom, who was Ingrid Bergman's daughter. And there's also a really awkward 1944 Academy Awards ceremonies newsreel where we see Gary Cooper giving Bing Crosby the Oscar for Best Actor, and we see Jennifer Jones give Ingrid Bergman the Oscar for Best Actress. But this is, again, it's about star power, and Bergman is just wonderful. I would prefer to have seen Anton Walbrook with Ingrid Bergman, but boy, he does enough. And of course, Joseph Cotton's just Joseph Cotton awesomeness. From 1988, Spy Number 151, Running on Empty, with River Phoenix. Again, this doesn't have any extras. Another one directed by Sidney Lumet. I've actually got quite a few films directed by Sidney Lumet. Can't imagine how that happened. And finally, you'll be glad to know, Spy Number 152 from 1963, The List of Adrian Messenger, which is a strange little murder mystery with George C. Scott. And also, I'm not a huge fan of George C. Scott, but I've got this one anyway. Dana Winter, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Clive Brook, and featuring, I use the word featuring loosely, Kirk Douglas, Tony Curtis, Burt Lancaster, Robert Mitchum, and Frank Sinatra. You couldn't make that now, that cast, because they're all dead. But apart from that, directed by John Huston. So that's just a quick run through of my premium collection, which I probably won't be adding any more to. Again, this line is now ceased production, but as I said, a lot of these are on Warner Brothers archive, and more of them will actually be released in the UK, so essentially that's the continuation of them. So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know what your favourite film out of this pile is, and what Warner Brother archive titles you would recommend. So thanks very much for watching. This backlog cleared. That's another label down, 26 labels to go. Yeah, thanks for enduring it, if you've endured it this long, and hopefully you'll continue to endure it. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.